Hey guys, William here. I had to change up my setup due to some electrical issues going on. But nonetheless, we're back up and running. Maybe not at full strength. Maybe 80 is as close as I can get. Might not be 100, but hey, the Lord provides. And you know what? That's what this is about. We're doing a continuation of last week's study where we were talking about how the Lord provides. And the Lord has provided me with reasoning to continue this because I was listening. Well, first of all, I was doing a devotional all week, and one of the sections talked about was what we're going to read tonight. And I also I try to listen to sermons and whatnot. I haven't been in the habit of doing so in a while, but I figured I'd get back into that like I should. And Tony Evans actually preached on this as well in one of the videos that I was listening to while at work. And so the Lord convicted me in my heart and got me to hop on here tonight and read out of Genesis chapter 22, verses 1 to 14. And this is God testing Abraham. So let's hop into this. So, Genesis 22, verse 1. And it came to pass after these things that God did tempt Abraham, and said unto him, Abraham. And he said, Behold, here I am. So before I continue any further, I know it says that he tempted Abraham, right? But it also says in James, God cannot tempt anyone. Let me just be the first to say that those two versions of the word tempted are two completely different translations. One is from the original Hebrew, and the other one is from, I believe, Greek. And the one in Hebrew means to test, whereas the one in Greek means to, well, you can use your imagination. I'll just say that. Where one is a test, the other one is genuine temptation with evil. This is the good one. So I'm going to continue. Sorry for that little sidebar there. And he said, Take now thy son, thine only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell thee of. And Abraham rose up early in the morning, and saddled his ass, and took two of his young men with him, and Isaac his son, and clave the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up, and went unto the place which God had told him. So, at this point, God has already promised Abraham many blessings and to be the father of a great nation through his son Isaac, his son whom he loves. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why would he ask him to sacrifice his son even though he promised him to him and promised great things through him? This is all so confusing. Is this contradictory? Well, hold on a minute and we'll see. Then on the third day Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the plain afar off. And Abraham said unto his young men, Abide ye here with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship, and come again to you. And Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering, and laid it upon Isaac his son. And he took the fire in his hand, and a knife, and they went both of them together. And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father, and said, My father. And he said, Here am I. my son? And he said, Behold, the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering? And Abraham said, My son, God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. So they went both of them together, and they came upon the place which God had told him of. And Abraham built an altar, there, and laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand, and took the knife to slay his son. Now I know what you're thinking. This is looking very hairy. This is looking very serious. Like, why would God promise one thing and then ask him to do this? This is where it gets good. This is where it gets good, and you're going to find out. Plus, did you see that bit there? God will provide a lamb for a burnt offering. That's a hint. So, where was I? I lost my place. Yes. Verse 11. And the angel of the Lord called unto him out of heaven and said, Abraham! Abraham! And he said, Here am I. And he said, Lay not thine hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him. For now I know that thou fearest God, seeing that thou hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, from me. So here, God, watching Abraham get ready to slay his son, goes, Wait a minute! You've shown me that you fear me. You've shown me that you are faithful. Now here's the thing. God knows that we're faithful. But for God, it's one thing to witness how faithful we are. But it's another thing for him to feel how faithful we are. God always saw Abraham's faithfulness, but up until this moment, he had not felt it. And he came, he's like, okay, I now know that you ultimately fear me. Don't kill your son. This was a test. You've passed. Don't kill your son. God tested Abraham, and that's something that a lot of people miss. They go, he told him to sacrifice his son. Okay, and he stopped him at the last second. He clearly didn't want him to do it. He was testing him. Plus, Abraham knew that God would be able to restore unto him his son if he had let him go through with it. That's how devoted to God he was, the fact that he knew. Now I'm going to continue up reading this before I run out of time. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, and behind him a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering in the stead of his son. And Abraham called the name of that place Jehovah-Jireh, as it is said to this day, the mount of the Lord, it shall be seen. That phrase there, Jehovah-Jireh, means one thing: God will provide. Because this whole thing of Abraham offering up his son is a mirror image of God offering his son for us. Because the sacrifice for the sins, that's what Abraham was performing, and that's what God did for us. He provided a lamb, and that lamb being Jesus. So I'll catch y'all later. I'm almost out of time. Love God, love one another. Remember, friends don't let friends do drugs. And Jesus loves you very much.